Hey y'all, it's Jessica from Sloppy Swatches. Today I have the Bright Side collection that's releasing on March 3rd at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time from LynB Designs. I will link LynB Designs storefront and social media down below. These were sent to me for review and they're inspired by Always Look on the Bright Side of Life by Monty Python. This is a collection of 12 pieces and you will be able to save 50% off when this collection releases by using coupon code BRIGHT. This is quite a lengthy review, so I'll go ahead and get right into it. First up is What Have You Lost? Nothing, and this is described as a pale gray cream base with golden shimmer and small golden flakes. So this is a very light, delicate gray. I'll go ahead and show you a brush shot, and I'll show you how What Have You Lost? Nothing swatched on my natural nail. So here is the first coat. This polish is very sheer. I feel like that's a running note throughout this collection that most of them do take at least 3 coats. This first coat does go on nice and smooth and you get a ton of those gold flakes. So I'll let that dry and then come back in for a second coat. I am going to go in with nice thick second coats for most of these polishes, so I'll try not to be too repetitive, but a second coat does build that color up a little bit, but you can still see my nail line, so I'll let this dry and then come back in for a third coat. So here is my third and final coat, and this one does bring this one pretty well opaque. I did have really good coverage, just a flash of nail line under some different lightings. So here's a look at that completed mani before top coat. This is one that dries down a little bit dull. A good top coat will help bring out all of that gold shimmer. This is my swatch photo under artificial lighting, and then once more at an angle. So next up is You'll See It's All a Show, and this is one of my top picks. It's described as a super sparkly pink Crelly with pink Galaxy Hollow and berry Galaxy Hollow glitters in there. So this is between a Crelly and a jelly mix. I'll go ahead and show you a brush shot, and I'll show you how You'll See It's All a Show swatched on my natural nail. Since this polish does have that jelly Crelly base, it does go on quite sheer. You do get a pop of that bright pink pigment on there as well as a ton of glitters, but it is very sheer. So I'll let this dry and then come back in for a second coat. Again, I'm going in with a nice thick second coat to help build up that coverage and add more of that glitter. At 2 coats, it's still quite sheer, so I'll let this dry and then come back in for one more coat. So here is my third and final coat. Again, a nice thick third coat, and this brings us not really opaque, but really nice coverage. I do like the effect of the glitters in that jelly base. Gives you a lot of depth and a ton of holographic shine. So here's a look at that completed mani before top coat. This is my swatch photo under artificial lighting, and then once more at an angle. Next up is Other Things Just Make You Sweat and Curse, and this is described as a bright red jelly base with linear hollow and pinky red shimmer. This one did tend to lean a little bit pink for me. I'll go ahead and show you a brush shot, and I'll show you how Other Things Just Make You Sweat and Curse swatched on my natural nail. This is another one of my top picks. I really love how the flakes kind of sit in that jelly base. At one coat it is quite sheer, so I'll let this dry and then come back in and show you what a second coat looks like. So here is my second coat. Again, a nice thick second coat, really bumps up that coverage and adds more of those glitters. I could still see quite a bit of my nail line. I do have particularly voracious nail lines though, so if you have shorter nails, you may be able to get away with fewer coats. Here is my third and final coat, and this does bring this one to full coverage. All the shimmer really helps build up the opacity. So here's a look at that completed mani before top coat. This one did seem to dry down pretty glossy. This is my swatch photo under artificial lighting, and then once more at an angle. Next up is Give the Audience a Grin, and this is described as a red-orange jelly base with linear hollow and red gold glass flecks. So you do get a ton of those micro flakies in here. I'll go ahead and show you a brush shot, and I'll show you how Give the Audience a Grin swatched on my natural nail. This is a very fiery orange. It really is pretty on the nail. It kind of tended to shift a little bit coral, a little bit red, and a little bit orange under different lightings. At one coat, it's a little bit sheer, but I did get nice even coverage here. So I'll let this dry and then come back in and show you what a second coat looks like. Again, with a thicker second coat, it does add to that coverage, but it does not bring this one completely opaque. That jelly base really needs to have, I think, a third coat to build it up to complete coverage. So I'll show you really quickly how a third coat built this polish up. It does bring this almost to complete coverage, just maybe right on the edge of being completely opaque. Here is a look at that completed mani before top coat. This is my swatch photo under artificial lighting, and then once more at an angle. So next up is Death's the Final Word, and this is described as a tan cream base with glow and shimmer that shifts from pink to silver to green. There is a ton of shifting here. I had a really hard time catching it. I'll go ahead and show you a brush shot, and I'll show you how Death's the Final Word swatched on my natural nail. So here is one easy coat. This polish I think is the sheerest of the collection. I think it will make a beautiful French mani, especially if you have a deeper or warmer skin tone. I'll go ahead and show you what a second coat looks like. A second coat does build this up a little bit, but it is still definitely not opaque. This is the only one that didn't really absolutely win me over. I do love that it's inspired by, death and bone colored. It just didn't work for me. I think it would work better maybe as a French mani and not as a standalone polish. So here is my third and final coat, and it does add a lot to that tan color, but it didn't bring this one completely opaque for me. So here's a look at that completed mani before top coat. I do love that shifty shimmer that is in this polish. It does translate very well to the nail. This is my swatch photo under artificial lighting, and then once more at an angle under artificial lighting. Quick language warning, but this next one is Life's a Piece of Shit, and it is described as a red-toned brown curly base with intense linear hollow. I almost feel like this one has some shimmer going on in there as well. I'll go ahead and show you a brush shot, and I'll show you how Life's a Piece of Shit swatched on my natural nail. This is one of the only polishes in this collection that was an easy two-coater for me, so this first coat goes on nice and smooth with great coverage. I did do a nice thick first coat here, and I'll let this dry and go ahead and show you what a second coat looks like. So here is my second coat, and it did build this one up completely opaque for me. I did opt to go in for a nice thick second coat though, so if you do a thinner coat, you may need 3. So here's a look at that completed mani before top coat. This is my swatch photo under artificial lighting, and once more at an angle. Next up is Life's a Laugh and Death's a Joke, It's True, and this is described as a deep brown jelly base with gold and bronze flaky. So this has a very grungy feel. I absolutely love it. This is another one of my top picks. I'll go ahead and show you a brush shot, and I'll show you how Life's a Laugh and Death's a Joke, It's True swatched on my natural nail. This does have that brown jelly base, so again, it's going to start out a little bit sheer, but you do get a ton of those larger flakies in here. So I'll let this dry and then show you what a second coat looks like. So here's my second coat again with a nice thick second coat. It definitely builds this polish up, but I do feel like it benefits from having a third coat. So I'll let this dry and come back in and show you what my final coat looks like. So here is my third and final coat. Again, a nice thick third coat, and it does bring this one really close to complete coverage for me. I think this is going to be one of those polishes that's absolutely going to look amazing with a matte top coat as well. So here's a look at that completed mani before top coat. This one did dry down nice and glossy for me. This is my swatch photo under artificial lighting, and then once more at an angle. Next up is Some Things in Life Are Bad, and it's described as a deep green crelly with a contrasting purple shimmer and silver galaxy hollow. So that has a very strong pink shimmer there. It does translate pretty well to the nail. I'll go ahead and show you a brush shot, and I'll show you how Some Things in Life Are Bad swatched on my natural nail. This green jelly base does go on nice and smooth, but really quite sheer. I think the majority of this polish is in that pink shimmer, so it's not really great at creating coverage. You do have to get a nice mix of those holographic glitters on there to help smooth that out. So here is my second coat, and again, it's still pretty sheer, so I'll let this dry and then show you what a third coat looks like. So here I'm going to go in for a nice thick third coat, and this one is really still a little bit sheer, but it does add to that jelly effect, so if you love that, you will love this one. Here is my look at the completed mani before top coat. That pink shimmer really does help it look more opaque. As the light hits it, it bounces off and reflects. This is my swatch photo under artificial lighting, and then once more at an angle. Next up is Laugh and Smile and Dance and Sing, and this is described as a periwinkle blue crelly with a purple glow and shimmer. So this is a very vivid, cornflower, periwinkle blue. It kind of shifts back and forth between the two. I'll go ahead and show you a brush shot, and I'll show you how Laugh and Smile and Dance and Sing swatched on my natural nail. This does have a bit of a curly base as opposed to a cream base, so it is another one that you're going to have to build up a little bit, but that curly base really lets that shimmer show through and add a lot of depth. Here is my second coat, and I am going in for nice thicker second coats. It did build it up almost to the edge of being opaque. I feel like if you have shorter nails, this is one that'll be a 2-coater, maybe depending on your application. I am going to go ahead and show you what a third coat looks like for me, and a third coat does bring this one completely opaque. This polish does self-level, it just does so a little bit on the slower side, and it does dry down a little bit matte. So here's a look at that completed mani before top coat. This is my swatch photo under artificial lighting, and then once more at an angle. Next up is Don't Be Silly Chumps, and this is described as a medium cool tone purple cream base with shimmer that shifts from blue to gold to green. So this polish for some reason just looks like Easter in a bottle for me. I'll go ahead and show you a brush shot, and I'll show you how Don't Be Silly Chumps swatched on my natural nail. So here is one easy coat. You do get a ton of that shimmer on the nail, and that's really going to help build up the coverage in this polish. So I'll let that dry and come back in and show you what a second coat looks like. So here is my nice thick second coat. It does build up that purple base, and you do get a ton more of that shimmer. It's not opaque for me though, so I'll let this dry and then come back in for a third coat. So here is my third coat, and this does bring this one completely opaque. I think this is another that's going to look really awesome matte. It's going to kind of matte that shimmer but bring it out at the same time. Here's a look at the completed mani before top coat. This is my swatch photo under artificial lighting, and then once more at an angle. So next up is Don't Grumble, Give a Whistle, and this is described as a thistle-colored crelly with hollow shimmer and gunmetal flakies. I love the description on this one. It almost reminds me of like a sister polish to You'll See It's All a Show, but in purple. So I'll go ahead and show you how Don't Grumble, Give a Whistle swatched on my natural nail. The glitters in this polish are a bit more on the micro glitter side, so they are a little bit smaller. That curly base is pretty sheer, so I'll let this dry and then come back in and show you what a second coat looks like. So here is my second coat. It definitely builds up that purple pigment a bit, but it is still quite sheer. So I'll let this dry and then come back in for a third and final coat. So here is my third coat. I am going to go in for a thick coat here, and this one's really on the edge of being opaque. I think it's going to really depend on application, but I had nice coverage here. So here's a look at that completed mani before top coat. This is my swatch photo under artificial lighting, and then once more at an angle. So lastly today I have the polish of the month, and this is Tempestuous. It's described as a gray curly base with silver hollow shreds and shifting glowy shimmer from pink to blue to purple. Y'all, the shift in this polish is absolutely amazing. I'll go ahead and show you a brush shot, and I'll show you how Tempestuous swatched on my natural nail. The elements in this polish are very ethereal and fairy-like and dainty, but they do make for a pretty sheer finish. So that one coat I had almost no coverage. I'll let that dry and then come back in and show you what a second coat looks like. I am going in for nice thick coats here. I didn't have any pooling or anything like that. 2 coats, it does build up that gray base and adds more glitter, but it is still quite sheer. So I'll let that dry and show you what a third coat looks like. Again, a nice thick third coat. It doesn't really bring this one opaque at all. When I ought to wear this one again, and I will because it is my absolute #1 top pick, I think I'll layer this over a gray or purple to help bring out all of those elements. I didn't catch all of the shift of this polish on my nail on camera. It is absolutely really amazing. So here's a look at that completed mani before top coat. This is my swatch photo under artificial lighting, and then once more at an angle. So that wraps up today's swatch and review. I do definitely recommend checking out LynB Designs. She has really affordable polishes, especially if you're just getting into the indie world. I will link all of her social media down below, so be sure to stop by and give her love from me. If you'd like to see more photos, I do have those available on my blog at sloppyswatches.wordpress.com, or you can follow me on Instagram at sloppyswatches. So thanks so much for watching, guys. See you next time.